What's going on, everybody, and welcome to my channel. As you may have read by the title of today's video, today we are going to be talking all about my step-by-step process on how I create my thumbnails. Now, to be honest with you, I don't know why I didn't create this video sooner, because from the moment I started my YouTube channel, I have been getting so much positive feedback on the creativity around my thumbnails and how I get them to look so good. Now, I do want to preface this video by just saying that it does take a lot of practice. You have to figure out your unique style and what works for you. You're not going to start creating awesome thumbnails from the jump and thumbnails that are actually converting and getting you views. It takes a lot of trial and error. It takes practice and perfecting over and over and over again before you kind of find your formula and what works for you. But in today's video, I want to share with you mine to maybe help you or add some insight in your thumbnail process. Now, it's really not an extremely complicated process, but I'm going to show you exactly what I do to get the thumbnail results that I've gotten. And also, I want to say that I have studied and I have done a lot of research on thumbnails over, the course of a couple years before I actually started my channel. And so a lot of that knowledge that I picked up over time was really put to the test when I actually started my channel. That's why you see my thumbnails looking pretty good from the moment I started. Another good thing to note in the beginning of this video is that you can always change up your thumbnails. You can add a new image if you're not liking the image that you chose originally, or if your video is not producing any views, you can switch up the thumbnail to add a new fresh look to it. So there's a ton of different ways to navigate the whole thumbnail scene, but this is mine and I want to share exactly what I do with you guys. Now, before I jump right into the step-by-step process, another really crucial point I want to say here in the beginning of this video is that my thumbnail process starts way before I actually sit down and start creating my thumbnail. When I'm in the brainstorming phase of a YouTube video, I'm already thinking of a title and of a catchy thumbnail that I'm going to use for this specific video. So when I'm writing out my ideas for a YouTube video, I'm also writing out the title and what I want the thumbnail to say and kind of look like. That helps me picture it in my mind, so when I sit down to create the video, I know what I want the thumbnail to kind of look like. So before I start actually recording my YouTube video, I pick up the camera, I press record, and I start doing these little freeze frames for my thumbnail. So, for instance, what I would do for this video is I planned on opening up my laptop and showing just the blank screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press record on my camera and film a video of just me doing different poses that I will eventually use on my thumbnail. So, for instance, this is what I would do. And just create these catchy little freeze frames that you can use on your thumbnail. And so already in my mind, I knew for this thumbnail, I wanted to show my laptop, and I planned to put a thumbnail picture right here on the black screen. So those were my ideas beforehand, before I sat down to create this video. So for the thumbnail, I'm just gonna do a video like this and just do a bunch of different poses. Just like that. And so then what I would do is I would stop the video and take out my memory card and download that video onto my laptop. That video is essentially all I need to create my catchy thumbnail. So follow me, I'm gonna share my screen with you, and I'm gonna show you more in depth of the process of how I actually go to create the thumbnail. Okay, now that I have the video pulled up right here, all I'm going to do is play the video and look for the specific frame that I want to use on the thumbnail. So I would just simply scroll through the video until I find the perfect one that I want. And then if you just pause the video, you can simply screenshot that scene and use that and open it up in Illustrator. So I'm here looking for the perfect one. Now, once I have the perfect frame that I want and I like how it looks and I'm happy with it, I'll simply screenshot that frame and open it up in Adobe Illustrator. Adobe Illustrator is where I go to create all of my thumbnails, and that's just where I'm comfortable working in. So you could simply do this and use another program as well, but for the sake of this video and for the sake of my process, I use Adobe Illustrator. So as you can see right here, I have the photo opened up, and I also have an artboard where I create all of my thumbnails. So as you're gonna see right here, here's a bunch of the different more recent thumbnails that I have, and I kind of use this as a template to start my next thumbnail. So there's a couple different ways that I could go about this. Here I just pasted my new screenshot or my new thumbnail into my artboard. I just do Command V to paste it. And there's a couple ways I could go about this. Sometimes I like to keep the standard background like you see behind me in my videos. It just is a way for me to make a thumbnail in a quicker amount of time and to make my thumbnails look different. I don't want them to all look over edited, so sometimes I simply keep the background that you see behind me. So if that was the case for this one, I would almost be finished. Like if you check out this thumbnail right here, going on YouTube Live, going live on YouTube, I kept the background. It was simple. I just added a couple texts and some images, clip art, and I was ready to go. But something like this, I add my own background and I cut myself out of the photo. So I think that's the route I want to take for this video. So what I do is I simply click on my pen tool right here on the left side, and I am going to trace around me and the thumbnail, around what I want to keep. So for this one, I'm gonna just start here, and you're gonna see that I simply just trace around me and the parts of me that I want to use on the thumbnail. So this is kind of a lengthy process, but I enjoy doing it, and practice makes perfect, like I said earlier in this video. You're not gonna get this perfect on your first try, but over time of you doing it, it gets better and it gets easier. So just bear with me as I trace myself out. And like I said, there's many different ways to accomplish the results that I get. If you have an easier way to do this, if you like to use an app or AI, you can do that as well. But this is simply my process and what I do to get my thumbnails. So I just simply draw around myself like so. And with the background being blurry, it's a lot more forgiving. So it does not have to be perfect, as you're gonna see right here when I'm finished. All right, so once I have my entire shape mapped out and drawn with the pen tool, I'm gonna simply select both the image and the tracing that I just did with the pen tool, right click and do make clipping mask. This is gonna clip myself out and take away everything else. If you're not happy with how it looks, you can simply come in here and edit around it to make it more what you're wanting. But that is simply all I do. Now, I need to find the background and I need to add some text in here. So let me get rid of my last thumbnail. And start making room for this next one. All right, so for this one, I'm gonna start off on just a white background. So as you can see here, I just have the white background and I just placed my image. You can make it bigger or smaller based on what you're interested in or how you want it to look. And then I simply position my image either to the right or left side. In my mind, I know I'm still gonna add some text here, so I need to position it either more towards one of the sides to allow me to type. So for the thumbnail, I wanted it to say something about my process or how I make my thumbnails, something like that. But the word thumbnail is gonna be pretty long, so I'm trying to think of some way to make it a little shorter. So in this step of the process, you can simply look up similar videos and piggyback off of what other people have used as their thumbnail for their videos that talk about how they make their thumbnail. Or you can come up with something on your own. So for me, I think I'm gonna write how I do it. And I think I'm gonna make these 2 separate lines so it takes up more space. So we're gonna do how I do it. Keep in mind that your title of your video is also going to be about the thumbnail process, so you don't have to simply say how I make my thumbnail on the thumbnail and how I make my thumbnail in the title. You kind of want them to be different. So that's why I'm able to write something so simple as how I do it on my thumbnail, because the title of the video is going to express more about what am I doing. I'm showing you how I make my thumbnail. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave it to something like that. And the reason I did do it in 2 lines was just so it takes up more of this white space on the left side of me. So I think that's perfect, just like that. And now we need to work on the background of the image. So for this, I like to think what goes along with my video, what would look nice back there. And what I have in mind is just simply going to my YouTube channel and taking a screenshot of my thumbnails and putting that behind me. I think that would be a cool little way to add to this thumbnail. So I'm just gonna simply, maybe I'll start with my more recent ones, and I'm just gonna screenshot this. Screenshot a bunch of my thumbnails. And I'm gonna open that up here in Illustrator. Now, another thing that I like to do for the background is I like to blur the image. So if I simply go up here to Effects, Blur, Gaussian Blur, it's gonna blur that background for me. And now I'll simply arrange, send to back, and it's gonna put it right behind me. Now there's a couple things here that I don't like. Because I'm wearing a black t-shirt, I feel like I kind of get lost in the background. So I'm gonna go over to my Safari. Okay, sorry about that delay. I was just trying to get my YouTube theme out of dark mode so I could get a capture of my thumbnails with a white background. So now that I have the white background, I'm gonna bring that into Illustrator and see how that looks behind my photo versus the black version. So guys, I know this seems like I know what I'm doing, but it's kind of just me trying out different things and seeing what I like versus what I don't like. And like I said, I already had an idea of what I wanted to do in my mind. So that's what I'm just putting to work here and seeing how I like it. It's not always going to look perfect on your first attempt. And over time, as you practice making your thumbnails, you'll get better at it and you'll know what you want and what you don't want. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. So here I'm gonna test out the new screenshot, send it to the back, and I think I like the white background a whole lot better. Now, yeah, I think I like that a whole lot better. Now there's a couple other things that I like to do to add a more cool look to the overall thumbnail. Now, one thing you can do is add a glow around your cutout self. So how I do that is I bring a copy of my cutout over to the side and I do release clipping mask. Then I delete the photo out, so all I'm left with is the drawing I made with my pen tool of my outline. And what you can do there is if you click on your swatches, click on your outline. If you want the glow to be white, if you want the glow to be yellow, whatever color you want the glow to be, simply select the color, go to your stroke. I always go to about 20. And as you can see, this is the outline that I drew. And then if you go over to effects, you can go to blur, Gaussian blur again, and it's gonna blur your outline, making it look like a glow. So then I simply bring that back to my image, kind of place it around me. And then in this point, you want to make sure you bring your image of yourself to the front so that the glow is behind you. Just line that up. And now, as you can see, I have the glow behind me. Now I want it to match my words, so I know I need to make it a little less yellow, something like that. And now I have a full glow behind me. Now, one of the last steps for this specific thumbnail is I wanted to add an image of a thumbnail right here on my computer screen. So I was gonna go over to my YouTube and try to find one of the best thumbnails, or a thumbnail that I thought was really good. And that was what I was gonna slap on the computer screen. Now, to make it a little easier, I might just grab something that I have here and throw it on there. Let's see. Something like that. Now, by doing that, I think that looks okay. But guys, like I said, this is just my process, and I'm kind of just throwing things together and brainstorming while I got you guys on here. So I kind of do something just like that, and that's how I make my thumbnail. Now, another thing I want to add is maybe I'll add an emoji, or I'll add like the YouTube logo down here. And these things I just get off the internet, and I just look up maybe YouTube logo with transparent background. So maybe I'll add that to the bottom right here. And that is a completed thumbnail. To export it, it's very simple. I just go over to File, Export, and I always make sure I do Save for Web. This is gonna allow me to upload it to YouTube as a thumbnail. So when I do this, I'm able to see the thumbnail a little bit better to make sure it's exactly how I want it. I don't like this white edges on the side, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean that up. How I fix that is just stretch the photo out to make sure it goes all the way to the edge. Now if I go back to export, save for web, it's gonna be a little better. I want to clean that side up a little bit more. Export, save for web, and there's my completed thumbnail. Now, one tip of advice I want to add before I finish off this thumbnail and export it is a tip that I learned a long time ago. In fact, I don't even really remember where I learned this tip from, but it's been a very helpful tip in my whole thumbnail making process. Now, that tip is when you are finished and when you think your thumbnail is done and complete, you want to remove one thing from the thumbnail. Because you don't want the thumbnail to look too cluttered, too busy, too much going on. You want to make sure it's easy to read, people can see it and read it right away and know exactly what's going on, and it looks catchy and clickable, right? But you just also don't want so much going on. So in this case, I think something I want to remove is this YouTube logo. I'm just going to get rid of it because I don't think it matters. You can use this video for anything. It doesn't have to be YouTube thumbnails. It could be any kind of thumbnails, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. And by removing that one thing from my finished thumbnail, now I feel like it's complete. So that's one of the things that I always do when I create thumbnails is I go through, and when I'm finished and I think it's pretty good how it is, I think it's bomb and I have added all the elements to it that I want, I make sure I go in and I remove one thing. So that's a really great little tip for you guys. And by removing that one thing now, I believe I'm ready to export this thumbnail and use it for my YouTube video today. Now, another thing I want to point out is because YouTube allows you to test different thumbnails, you can do A/B testing, you can add multiple thumbnails, you can create more than one of these. You don't have to just create one. I can create multiple different versions and test them out to see which one performs better. So that's a really cool feature that YouTube has and you can try out. But all in all, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna save this and my thumbnail is complete. So I know that I didn't go into extreme detail about exactly how I create everything and my process and how to use Illustrator, but there's a ton of videos out on YouTube about how to use Adobe Illustrator. So I kind of just wanted to show a brief rundown of my process and how I achieve the thumbnail looks that I have. So guys, if this video was good, if you have learned something from this video, please make sure you hit the thumbs up button down below, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, and leave me a comment as well. But guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you can go out and make some bomb thumbnails on your own. So guys, I'll see you in the next one, and as I always like to say, we're gonna do amazing things together. Bye!